Can you say your name and say that again?
Welcome back to another episode of the OhManPodcast. Can we get some energy?
Let's go!
Okay, this is the second time someone has done.
Where's the DJ?
Maybe it needs to be a part of the intro. Twice, it's a sign.
All right, on today's episode, we have Opizzy, and to my left,
We got your boy Ajiks.
Gabby.
And your boy, the Juggernaut, aka Smooch, aka me.
you were meant to go
Very
before
long
I'm
me.
not back, guys. I'm sorry.
Oh, this
it's been
guy.
it's been like a year.
Anyways, guys, we have a special guest, Gabby. Thank you very much for
Yes.
coming on today.
Thank you guys for having me.
Welcome.
Do you guys know that Gabby was a former Miss Ireland in
Miss Ireland?
Miss Nigeria?
I did not until today.
What year was it? 2018?
2018, yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to you.
What are the responsibilities of that?
I was meant to do some charity work, and I was meant to do some community work as well, which meant like going to different events and doing certain things. Like I would have to sing, or I would have to meet with like the people.
Just a lot of community work.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like just a lot of community work and a lot of charity work and trying to raise money for certain things. We do a lot of work in heritage as well.
Okay.
And so yeah, that was great. I was just happy to get free food. Like I wouldn't even lie.
You didn't,
The free food
you
can't
you didn't get a
complain.
salary, no? You didn't get like a...
No, I didn't. I was meant to. Still waiting
Yes.
on it.
Miss
But
Nigeria, we need to do
Nigerians,
better.
sorry,
We need to do better.
Nigerians, we need to do better.
Yes.
But
As a whole.
it's okay.
But as Miss Nigeria, does that not mean that you represent all of our failures?
Basically,
I know.
yes,
Wow.
that is
God
very,
just
very
summarized
true.
it so
That is very, very true. And I took it on, I did it very
Thank
well
you,
for 2
thank you.
years.
Yeah.
I'm very proud
It's
of
a lot of
that.
responsibility. Shout out to you. Congratulations as well.
Thank
No
you.
small thing.
So before the episode started, we were talking about wine.
Oh, yeah.
And how it's terrible.
No, it's not.
You just because you like red wine, you look free.
No, I said I like rosé.
You like what?
I like rosé, and I like the taste of red wine, but I prefer drinking rosé the most.
Yeah.
But
I
white
agree.
wine tastes like vinegar.
No, it doesn't.
It tastes like
No, vinegar, don't do that to
No,
vinegar. Vinegar's
don't
actually nice
even,
still.
don't violate white wine like that.
I said vinegar is actually nice.
Yeah,
still.
because it's like you need it for your
Yeah.
chips and stuff. But we're not even going to get into that. We're talking about wine here.
Yeah.
To be honest, I was never supposed to get into wine or drink as much wine as I have over the course of my life.
Why, was it Corona?
No, it wasn't Corona.
It happened way before Corona.
Yeah, the wine drinking started before Corona. But, as I've been tasting it, going through it, I think I've settled on Prosecco,
Yeah.
white, and then red.
God damn.
Like, I never used to like wine, like, at all. But then, as I started drinking more
Once
white
you started
wine.
dating women.
Whoa.
Are we really blaming women here for the
No,
wine?
it's not blaming. You helped us
Okay.
open it. You helped us expand our
It's
taste.
true,
Okay,
it's true.
okay,
Like, oh,
I'll
can you grab me a
accept
bottle of
that.
Prosecco?
I like that description.
What's a Prosecco?
Expand,
And then we
expand
started
the
like,
palate.
So were all your experiences into wine true women?
Mine was.
Or on your own?
Mine was...
No, it's definitely not my own.
Really?
Yeah.
How did
I know
you
when
get
yours
into wine?
was college.
To pinpoint the exact date I started
Oh,
drinking wine, that's crazy. But
What
it probably was like one of those kind of like
Oh yeah.
dates, and
Is
then
that-
you get a glass. No,
Oh.
No.
your date gets a glass of white wine,
When you
and
Yeah.
then you're just like, yeah, I'll get that too.
Oh, okay,
So you start
okay.
sipping, and you're like, oh,
Yeah, that
I'm
makes
feeling a little
sense.
buzz here.
Yeah. No, mine was actually this lockdown.
This lockdown was your first time drinking wine. You're alive.
Wow.
It's not my first time drinking wine, but
I know,
it's when I
that's
got
why I
into
called
wine.
you
Mm.
So obviously I had a friend and his girlfriend liked drinking wine, and she was like, "Oh, do you want a glass?" And I'd be like, "No." And then eventually I was like, "Yes," peer pressure and that. And
So
I was
you
just
gave in?
sipping it, and yeah, it was okay. It was alright. It was red, and I like red now, and I didn't before.
So if they gave you white, that's what you'd have liked.
No.
Basically.
No, that is true. That's a fair
They
point.
gave me white as well.
And you didn't like it.
It was vinegar. That's what it was, and I don't know why we pretend that it isn't. But it's
Nah,
okay.
white wine is nice too.
It is.
But like I said before this started, give me some like a scotch, a whiskey, a brandy, something that I can feel in my throat.
What
and
is
my
it with the
chest.
heavy drinks? Like, what is it?
I actually
What
miss
about
Henny,
it?
man. I haven't drank Henny. in
I don't know. When you're
time.
drinking it, you feel like it's having its effect immediately. It's like that burning sensation. It's
Yeah.
like, this is unnatural.
Also, it's because you don't like wine because it's slower to come in,
Yeah.
or is
Yeah.
that why?
It's slow and
Oh, okay,
sneaky
okay.
and not tasty.
It's actually, it is
Okay.
sleepy.
Yeah, it is sleeping.
That's why I like enjoy
Yeah.
it. A lot happened again on the internet. Internet is a crazy place. Tory Lanez.
Daystar.
My guy went silent for like 3 months through the whole incident.
When was he shooting? Like what, April? Or?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like mid-corona. It happened mid-corona. And you know, they all came out and everything alleges, you know, what's her name? Meg Thee Stallion went on live. There was reports, hospital reports. This guy didn't say one word. But my guy just tweeted 9 p.m. Truth's coming out. What truth, Tory? What truth, Tory? My guy now gives us a nice little album explaining the details on his side, and he had a hit list. I was naming, checking it out.
He was
one by
listening
one.
to the people that were talking shit.
But in talking shit, why did he, one, take so long to respond, and two, put it out in art form? You get me?
I hear you. So the first one is, I think there might still be an open investigation in which, you know, it wouldn't make sense for him to come out and start talking, you know, if it does transpire that he has to go to court. His lawyers would have told him, you know, the best thing that you need to do is shut up, especially when you're the alleged. So, in respect to the second one, I still think he's going to make money, and, you know, it's a bit peak out there. I imagine that as soon as Megan brought out her side of the story, his money started going down.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He mentions on the album that he lost $10 million or something like that. Not that I listened fully. But
I would imagine so, because he had a lot of sponsorship deals like Quarantine Radio,
everything was just gone in the toilet.
Yeah.
So I imagine he would have had to release an album, you know, to start.
Get
you know,
some funds together.
You know, he's got people to look after. He's got a baby mama. He's got kids.
And I suppose that's why. What are your thoughts, Gabby? Before
I feel like I kind of understand that point of like he has to provide and stuff like that, but I just feel like the way he went about it was just wrong, in the fact that of like creating a hit list with your music is just stupid. It's like like you didn't even address the situation properly. He just sort of like danced around it and
But like
then
Dami said,
left
if
it at
it is
that.
an open investigation, he would be
That's
quite
true.
limited in what he can say on.
Well, why not just say sorry?
Apparently, allegedly, he sent a text saying sorry, but he wasn't saying sorry for shooting you. It was a sorry
For everything that's
apparently
happening.
she saw it after a surgery or something. But this is what TMZ and the likes are reporting.
oh.
So
Hey,
See-
we can't discredit TMZ. They got all the
you know,
all the
they're
goss.
up there in the juice.
Like,
So,
you know,
Like before every death, they're dead.
they're there.
Like
You know,
before
it's
it
like y'all could
happened.
have prevented that. couldn't you?
Yeah.
At this point.
don't know if they're the Grim Reaper
But
or
like-
something. Like,
This whole situation with Tory, like, I was just thinking on the way down. It's like with everything that's going on in terms of Black Lives Matter and the whole Breonna Taylor that just happened.
That's
Yeah.
actually
yeah,
It's the timing of when he dropped it
That too.
I'm like,
It's
Tory, if you're trying to help yourself, you're not. Like, you're making,
Yeah.
if not making it more difficult, because it was, maybe, obviously, you would have had a release date, but like,
the timing
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
help him. Yeah.
So you should have pushed the date because based on the Breonna Taylor.
If
I
I
don't
were him,
know.
I would have, because the time he brought it out, everyone, it like
And they were still
sensitivity
angry,
was
yeah,
high.
yeah.
Like, we just saw a black woman being shot, and then you shot a black woman. I'm so sorry. The timing he put that up was just the worst thing he ever did.
I would
Because
agree.
From that, everyone just went straight to him. I was like, really? After the Breonna Taylor thing is when you
Yeah.
want to put this
Probably
out, and then you
back when he
attack the
came
black
out with
woman
the album.
yourself? Ridiculous.
Exactly, it's
It
like
was
a
just-
paradox.
yeah.
And I honestly, I understand on Tory's side, but it's like, people aren't gonna have time to want to hear your side
Yep.
when that happens.
Yep.
That's what's crazy. I
Yep.
think he tops like the charts.
Really?
Yeah, so it's like
He's topping the chart.
yeah, well,
Maybe it's
Apple Music,
Caucasians
like,
that you
like, it's
listen
like
to.
digital platform. So it's like I think people are intrigued more than anything. Maybe not interested, but intrigued to see okay, what does he have to say?
Yeah, of
because he
course.
does litter the album with various references to the incident.
Yeah.
At one point, he's saying that why would he's never hit a woman and he's never let a shot off at a woman.
Please.
He also said some things about Black Lives Matter and the fact that
He was
they
out
just started
there
doing this to him.
protesting,
So it's very. I don't know. It's the rest.
It's
the
one
next
of them
couple
ones-
months is going to be interesting. Is all I can say.
Yeah, so it's at the moment it's just words against words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or should I say words against bars?
it's
Right.
his story against her
But
story at the
like,
moment,
yeah, I suppose.
and he hasn't really brought out his
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, exactly.
But
That's
he
the
did
thing.
he did get arrested, right?
Yes,
Yes.
he did.
Okay.
Bail
but
on
then-
30,000 apparently.
So he's
Wow.
on bail.
Yeah.
So that means there's probably some credibility to the story.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
He has not been
Regardless of what you're
convicted
saying.
though.
Pretty much.
Because I mean, if it's bail, that means there's
There's a case.
some meat there. You get me?
Yeah.
But if it's like, oh, they brought him in for questioning, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Tori. It's not looking good for you.
In a situation like that, I just conclude like there's no smoke without fire.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
even if they're gonna say my story, his story, okay, something happened for
Yeah.
there to be a story. Do you get me?
Yeah, definitely.
And I suppose us as the interested party are just waiting to see the real details. Like, bro, did you shoot her? Yes or
Yeah.
no?
From what you guys have seen, from what Meg, like from her, even her
He
live,
shot her,
and everything,
man.
does it seem like she's broken off that relationship? As in, there's no going back. As in, there's.
I don't know about celebrities, you
I
know.
don't know either.
weird,
They're
aren't they?
very
They're
weird. Like they
bro.
resolve things after a while, and
That's
then the
why-
rest of us are holding grudges like we were the ones there.
The internet
I don't
people go
understand.
ham.
We're there fighting the battles. Like
I do know it's bad. We're all defending Meg now. Well, Meg now comes like, you know what, yo,
It's
I
alright.
forgive her.
I'm dropping the
They
charge.
do it.
Stop.
They'll come for
oh
come
my
for Meg
god,
now.
be like, I was defending
You
you.
know.
And I think because of the way the internet's taking side, I don't think Megan can go back to
Oh,
any type of
Lord.
relationship with him, even if she
bro,
wanted to.
You'd be
I don't-
surprised.
You'd be surprised.
Man.
No, because the internet's punked her because based on Tori bringing out some of his side of the story, there's some data saying that maybe she didn't recount everything correctly, and once that starts to build and gets a bit of ammo,
Yeah.
and then she now adds to it herself saying she's actually cool. Nah, no way.
Staying on black women, Breonna Taylor, the judgment that came down was not a good one.
No.
Only one of the cops was convicted of. What was he convicted of?
He was convicted on the shots that he actually missed
Yeah, not the one.
The fact that he should fired into a
Yeah.
into a
into her
building or
house.
something like that,
Yeah.
but
Not actually
murder.
shooting her.
Not murder.
Yeah.
And
I was surprised.
no, that's what I'm getting at.
Funny enough, I think we are. Because like if we weren't, the reaction that we're giving, like we've seen sad enough countless amount of men have been shot and women as well have been shot by police, and we've become so numb to it. But this one I feel like hit a different type of way, because it was kind of like, okay, they had the cops that were there, but we weren't convicted of what we were actually looking for. We were convicted of something completely different. I had nothing to do with it. And then what made it worse, it was a black man that made the conviction.
Wow.
I saw that.
everything.
I was very confused about that. Was
Exactly.
he the Attorney General?
Yes, he was.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think some of the case was defeated long before this last verdict was delivered.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the
Yeah,
family
100%.
received some sort of wrongful death settlement
Civil
suit. And in accepting that, I don't know if that was kind of
Like a.
I don't know, for the cops, it may have been a way for them to kind of like reduce their accountability for what happened and allow them to shape it as this.
But you know,
Accidental
we know
kind of
cops,
shooting.
right? From history, they always stick together. They're
Yes.
basically a
Oh,
gang.
yes.
And they have, they're being funded by the government, obviously. So whatever happens, they're gonna get the least sentence or the least punishment possible. But my issue is, Breonna Taylor's husband, he fired shots, retaliation
Yes.
shots.
Yes.
But I think they charged him for not having for having a possession of gun,
Possession
but
of
he
gun.
had license to carry.
Yeah.
And
And he was
in
on
the
the
Second
spread.
Amendment, he's defending his right.
Yeah.
So it's like, how are the police the ones causing the provocation, but then the civilian has to now arm themselves, and then
They
the
were
civilian is now
defending themselves.
and you know why? It's because it's the black
Yeah.
person, and that's why I'm like, it's so open shut that this racism thing, lads. Are we gonna win this battle?
I, like, I mean, it is a racism thing. Don't get me wrong, but it's also it's low-key an economic thing. At the end of the day, these cops, who's backing them?
Yeah.
The government. Who's backing Breonna Taylor's husband?
Nobody.
Exactly.
Like-
And even if
like-
it was to,
Honestly.
the bill
You
for
get
the
me?
lawyer fees is going. You go broke.
Like-
You spend your life in court and for what?
For what?
Find
And
no
then they
justice.
turn around and tell you
For
no
maybe
at the end
justice?
of the case.
Yes, maybe
Maybe.
justice.
It's just
And then justice doesn't even feel like justice because
No.
you've lost someone.
No.
You have, and it's like it's irreversible. That fact. That can send some inspiring.
I saw a tweet like, we forget like she had hope. She had a life before
Yeah.
she was caught. Like, see the way we go out, we see friends, and then all of a sudden that stops. That was like what she was doing, but she was just chilling in her bed. Like,
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
that's crazy to me that there is actually no punishment for anybody, no accountability.
But I saw this coming, I'm not gonna lie. I saw this coming in the shadow of everything
Obviously.
going on with George Floyd. I knew that they were gonna slip this
Oh,
under the
yeah.
radar.
They tried to.
And
They really tried.
They tried.
Yeah,
Well,
no, they did. They
succeeded.
did.
Shout out
They
to
actually
shout out to
did.
Americans though, because
They
kept
went
every
saying
day they were
They went hard.
going.
They went hard.
I
And
know,
the sports
but-
stars as well.
Yeah,
Oh
but-
no, they
Kept
did. They
mentioning her name.
tried.
Yeah, but ultimately, look what
So there was a phase, NBA stars at every conference, they even answered.
Dude, they
just
didn't,
said,
Yep.
they didn't play certain matches after another shoot
Yeah.
happened
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah.
So it's like, as much as it does seem like a defeat, in terms of like the way
Mm.
black people continue to rally together, both domestically for the Americans and worldwide, I don't know. It's like a new strength or a new kind of like perseverance that
But
this
like-
generation
We've had
has
it,
had.
but
we've
Like,
had
this
it.
generation has got to experience and thrive upon, because our generations before us, the Martin Luther Kings, they've had to go through worse, and they had to overcome it. We're
I
kind
hear
of
that,
like
I
going
hear
through
that.
our own now.
Do you know, I don't think they went through worse. I feel like we all went through the same thing, just different ways. Like,
Okay.
the way they had been given certain situations, they were still being killed by cops. The
No,
same way
I
they
think it was
were.
completely worse in terms of the economic
I would have to
policies and
agree.
the.
Really?
There was a lot of inequality.
Actually, you
No,
know what?
I
there's
mean,
a lot of
I just
inequality.
feel
we
like
had
it depends
segregation, we had
on
I was on
our
your side when you said it,
situation.
and
Yeah.
when she made her point, I was like, and then I'm not on your side anymore.
Yeah, but
It
No,
really-
literally, like the economic situation was better back then.
It's like,
Yes, it was. It
For black
was.
people.
It really, yeah. Yeah.
Also,
I need to
they
expand
stuck
on that.
together. They stuck together. They built communities. They had
Yeah,
nah,
bands,
they
that's
built
true.
shitty communities.
Not what?
the shitty communities are now.
No, the shitty communities are
They're now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The communities were not
They,
shit back
they
then.
are worse
Are we,
now.
are we talking 40s, 50s?
We're
America.
talking about. I can't. Remember, I don't know the exact statistics, but
Like,
something
it would be
like the single parent rate back then was like 10%.
Yeah.
Now it's like 70.
Yeah.
That's the difference
Yeah.
I'm talking about. It's worse now. It's worse now.
Maybe the economic side is worse,
Yes.
but the physical, being out on the streets, the actual racism
The
that they were
overtness
facing,
of it, yes.
I don't
Okay,
know.
yeah.
I don't think you can
I would
compare
side
the
with
two
that
generations
one
that we're in terms of the
that.
protection that we
and
have
if you
now.
factor in social media, the influence, you're
Yes.
seeing
Yeah.
more strong
Yeah.
opposition towards Black Lives Matter. It's Black Lives Matter, but then you have people saying all lives matter. It's now
Yeah.
a matter of opinion.
I just think it's more out in
In the open?
Yeah, out in the open.
Yeah,
now,
I think so too.
And if you factor in back then, they took out Martin Luther King and what's his name, Malcolm X.
Malcolm X.
It was obvious they took them out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
obviously.
But
yeah,
then now-
100%.
Now, if they take out any political leader that speaks out, there will be riots now.
Because it's open.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
so now
yeah.
it's actually
There's no
better, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Oh, okay. In that sense, then yes, I
Like
totally
back then,
agree.
Yeah.
who's how many times was it covered that he got shot? Or
Yeah.
it was actually people that were there that really saw the effect. So
Yeah,
You know?
still. It's a complicated one,
Mhm.
but
It is, yeah.
the racism has changed, but it's still there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do we think it's ever gonna go?
Yeah.
personally, I can't see that in my generation.
No,
but I
Neither
would
can
hope-
I.
I would hope for my future generation.
Yeah.
Like my mom asked me a question yesterday, like, oh, why are they taking it when we were watching football and they were taking the knee? They're like, well, why are they taking the knee? Like, it's not doing anything. I was like, I hear you, but like, it's raising awareness of the killing that's happening. So you have to see that, you know, they're trying to bring awareness to what's happening around the world. And I thought about it as well, like, deep down, what is it?
I
that's
genuinely think it's
doing?
doing some good, because I think it's what it's doing is putting pressure on the overt racists to be like, all right, if you want to be overtly racist, now you have to show your bravery and be overtly racist in front of our
Yeah,
faces
yeah.
and see what the
That's
consequences
true.
what the consequences will be.
That's very
And most
true.
of them aren't really about it.
Yeah.
Most of them aren't about it. They have to stay quiet and do it in another way.
Yeah, but
So-
I feel it the other way. I actually
Like, even
feel
on
the
TV and
covert
everything.
racism.
Why?
The way that they're having to
Because,
articulate
man,
their conversations,
that
they're having
stuff,
to be
it
careful. They
manifests
have to think about it extra hard.
in strange and often more powerful ways.
Mm.
I'd rather be called a nigga to my face
Yes, same.
than have my career sabotaged by somebody that doesn't like me.
But that's the
I'm
thing.
Muslim.
You're more aware now that there's a likelihood that your career could be sabotaged.
The
And you
awareness,
can,
yes.
you can mitigate that as best as you can. Although it
best
might not
as you
always
can.
work out,
Yeah.
but you have a higher chance of mitigating.
All right,
it than you would have.
let's leave it there because we can actually go on
Yeah.
like this
Sorry.
racism. Oh, it gets my boy burning, but we have serious matters at hand. So as you're aware, we're doing the Breaking the Cycle series, and you know, some of even what we just said is a cycle.
Yeah.
It's a cycle that happens. And another cycle that we kind of want to focus on as well is in the area of sexual misconduct, right? We see it come up every so often, you know, and we forget that it's actually a prevailing thing in our society, and it's becoming more rampant, but yet less discussions, less highlight, less focus on the actual issue. And coronavirus isn't helping that either, because people's attentions are focused elsewhere. But then I'm seeing stats like the percentage of like rape, sexual assault, all those things are
rising
in during this time. So it's like people are actually going through things on top of corona, you know, and the lockdown and stuff. So it's just kind of like, you know, I just thought about it, and we were like, we need to have a more discussion on, one, to break down. I think we need more education on what the different things are like between sexual assault, sexual abuse, rape, things like that. And then also accountability of men. And one of the reasons why I actually asked you to come on, we had a discussion together on that platform. I forgot their name, but we were doing a discussion on gender bias and sexual misconduct, basically. And if you find the discussion, it was like a lot of it is a cycle as well between men, like either from gender bias of not having to take accountability from early, always getting their own way and never hearing no. Their first experiences with women and how they interacted with that. A lot of them don't break from that, like mature. That's just their mentality. Not an excuse, not anything to like say like that's the reason, but unfortunately it's just facts, you know.
Yeah.
So first of all, the first question I want to ask you is, can you describe to us, as a female, the differentiation between sexual assault, abuse, and rape?
Okay, so first, abuse is more used for children than adults in that sense. Abuse is also used for adults, but in terms of physical, emotional type of abuse or mental abuse, where someone is harming someone or putting someone in harm's way, that's the umbrella term for just everything in general. And then when we talk about, there's also sexual abuse. So when we go under sexual abuse, then we have sexual assault, sexual harassment, and rape. And the difference is that in terms of, I'll start with rape first, because that sort of like generalizes it. Rape is when someone is being forced, not only forced, coerced, and then also when told no or to stop, still continuing in a sexual act. So it can be that someone has forced you, which is the main one everybody knows. The other coercion is when either someone gives you a drink.
Can I ask you
says,
there?
Yeah.
Sorry, just interject there. In all of that explanation, is it the physical act of sex that they coerce you to, or just the thought, or is it like
that's gonna go into that. So rape is the actual penetration of a sexual act. So it's actually like a penis going into vagina or into the other side without the consent of the other party. So it can be male or female. And it also is coercion, which can be like you've been drugged to it, or you've been, you've been asked multiple times, and eventually you're just having to give in. Because
out of peer pressure,
I wouldn't say peer pressure.
No peer pressure. Just like pressure
of the person saying, and they're like in your face, or they're just asking you repeatedly, sort of manipulating you into it and telling you, oh, it's okay, don't worry about it, I'll ease in and whatnot, and then all of a sudden it's already there, and you're not even sure, like you never even gave that like permission. I never said yes, but I just kept quiet, and you took that as me being, I'm playing hard to get, or I'm saying yes. And then there's also forced coercion, and then there's, what was the other one? There was sexual assault. So sexual assault falls under the term of, I had to screenshot this because I wanted to make sure I got this right, because a lot of people confuse sexual assault with sexual harassment. And sorry, I was told not to check my phone, but I had to screenshot this.
Bring in a point.
So,
deals with the physical and
yeah,
harassment,
so
more like the verbal.
the sexual assault is unwanted touching, kissing, groping, forcing the victim to touch the other person in like a sexual way.
Can I ask a question? For women, what's considered groping? Because you can misinterpret trying to
Flirt with someone.
You get
Yes,
me? And then
of course.
that person obviously doesn't take kindly to that, but
Of
in
course.
your head that's not groping, but then she might have felt groped.
Yeah, I think groping can be like when you, as we all know, the one of grabbing the bum in an unpleasant way, or sort of grabbing them very forcefully is also also a form of groping, or like manhandling someone just anyhow. That forced pull. Like, do you ever get when someone comes up to you and they just grab your hand and you yourself, you're unaware of like what? And that also is part of it, like, because I don't know what you're about to do. You could have your way with me just from that, because the shock can keep me in such a state
and
that
I think
have no idea.
That's what we men don't understand, the state of shock women get under, because we're men. If we're under shock, we'll try and fight back, but it's different when they feel physically out muscle. So I can
100%.
understand that.
Yeah. And then harassment is when you're, let's say we're in an office space or even just here, and you start making remarks at me that aren't pleasant. So you're harassing me to think sexually of you or to feel a sexual way towards you, but I don't want to. So you're basically implementing your own sexual thoughts onto me without me asking you or telling you that I like you or making you think that I feel some way for you. So harassment can be like catcalling, or that's harassment. So it's hard to get the three into like, but they all fall under the same umbrella, which is the Sexual Abuse Act. But they're all traumatizing and dehumanizing at times. So those three would be the main ones that most women go through, and men go through as well.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Could you like define that harassment a bit more? Because
Okay.
I understand the catcalling. That I
Yes.
think feels very.
So anything that makes
a
a woman to feel, catcalls, whistles, anything that makes a woman feel objectified or victimized
objectified
is harassment.
Okay, so the catcalling, like I said, is a very obvious one. Whistling,
yes.
very obvious one. Can you give like a more like sort of subtle example of how, you know, a male could be harassing a woman? Maybe let's say in the workplace.
Okay. I'll use the
otherwise.
workplace one for an example. Maybe that will be easier.
Might be.
Let's say there's a woman that's standing by the water cooler and a guy just walks past, and as he's walking by and just says, "Oh, you're making me want to have a drink." Like those little slight remarks that you get, they don't really mean anything, and they're really like stupid because the person's probably just trying to flirt with you. But at the same time, I'm uncomfortable because all of a sudden I'm like, are you thinking of me in that kind of way? Like
you think I think of you like that?
Exactly. And then you're kind of you now have to be careful when you're around that person. That's you have to now watch my moves because of you. Or I have to watch where I go if you're there. Exactly. Exactly.
That's where that feeling comes. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I mean, like, what about like? So
I understand then why that's so
that
tough
was a
to
good example. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's not immediately obvious.
Exactly.
That is harassment.
They're very subtle, or
Yes.
even it happens even in the supermarket. Like
absolutely.
when you go to the shopping center or whatever, and someone just makes a little slight remark about what you have, or what does she have in her bags, or when we like looking at someone, you're talking to someone and you look down on their like chest area, and you're trying to have a conversation, and it's like you're objectifying me. You're literally just seeing me as nothing but boobs. That's literally it. Or one of the most subtle ones is like, if I'm trying to, this is the worst one. You get someone's trying to text you, and you're having a conversation, and they're like, I'm gonna go have a shower now. Jump in the shower with me. I want to see you in the shower, dude.
If I'm being honest,
what?
That's something I would say in like secondary school, never gonna lie. And then you grow out of that.
You grow out of it, but unfortunately, there's some guys that don't. Like, I've had bare people, like, one guy in particular, I'm not even gonna say names because I blocked him anyways. just kept on going with it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, baby, you can come and meet. Like, you're harassing online. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't even think that you're harassing someone online, but you actually are, because now I have to block you for my own protection.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't have to.
So is the
You know?
like so? I'm just trying to figure this out. So as part of the like prerequisite for harassment, the repetitiveness of it.
Yes.
Okay.
And the
Because,
subtleness as well in it, because harassment isn't direct.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Assault would be more direct, and then rape is the actual act. So a harassment is sort of like the subtleness. You're making the remarks that you're making me uncomfortable and you're objectifying me.
Okay.
Then the assault is when you're actually physically
Taking
assault.
action.
Yeah, you're taking action upon your words.
Yeah.
So at first it's just words. You're just saying it, then it's action, and then the actual criminal act of rape.
And is that why it's so hard for women to, like, when they can sense that, you know, this might lead to something, to go speak to the police, because you can't provide physical proof of harassment.
Exactly.
You can't prove that this could potentially escalate to what we fear.
Exactly.
Wow. Now I can understand, you know, why there's grievances as to why there's not enough justice for cases, and I wanted to touch on that a little bit in the sense of we've seen a lot of cases, some open shut, some like evidence everything and they still get off. Like, is there, because we don't understand what it's like, or from a woman's point of view, we wouldn't understand what it's like to go through that. But can you give an insight as to, would justice even be enough, and then what would be appropriate justice?
Would justice be enough? I don't know, because I feel like it depends on the individual. Some people, for them, justice would be seeing their perpetrator being sent to jail, and that for them is closed case. You know, I'm happy with that. But at the same time, you're still going to go back home and live with the trauma behind closed doors, like regardless of whether the person is in jail or they're out free. You're still, you're still living with it. Some people, their justice is true vocalizing it. Like, I think that was, for me, it was true. My therapy was speaking out about it and coming clean about it, because then I'm not holding it and harboring it inside of me. And that's why a lot of women found it easier to come online and be like, okay, this is what happened to me. It's a form of therapy. It's your form of justice, that even if I don't go to the police, it's out there. And I can help somebody else, or someone else can deal with that. Whoever wants to do anything about it, that's your business. But I've said my piece.
And I can understand why there's a reluctance to go to the police, because the process for
it is long.
It's not even long, it's like it's ineffective.
I wouldn't say ineffective, it's long. And
Well,
it's
if you
very,
look at the statistic of how many cases are actually
100%.
convicted versus cases that get off.
Oh,
that's what I
definitely.
meant, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Then yes, definitely. It is actually, it's quite tough, because you don't know where your case is going to end up. Even me, myself, I don't know where my case is going to end up, because I ended up going to the police. So they sit down and they tell you all these things, and they're like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take your statement. We're going to ask this person who you told first, because most times it's word against word. So it's his and her story, like we said about about Tory Lanez and what's her name, and Meg. Yeah, so it's his and hers against each other, and most times that's hard to convict, because you need practical evidence. And most of the times when a case like rape happens, if you go and report that day, it's sad enough. It's so much better, because then they can actually tell when someone's been forcefully raped. So they can date it and have it down on record that this has actually happened and she has actually been raped. Then that doctor's evidence is the thing that's going to back you up the most. But see, then our problem is we don't do that.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, it is the smartest thing to do. Unfortunately, it's one of the best things to do, is just to go straight to the doctor. And actually, it's sad, but you have to straight away get that marked down. But it's not the thing we go to. Exactly. It's not the first thing you think of when that happens. You just want to go home and just cry and wash yourself out.
What I'll say is also that I don't necessarily hear that's being said as the first thing to do. like we'll say go to the police, but we're not saying
Go to
when
the
to go to the
Yeah.
police, not how soon to go or to.
Yeah.
Because I remember Annie when she spoke on the last episode when we spoke about sexual misconduct,
Yeah.
she advised the first thing you to do is to, if you can go on that day to your doctor, police
Yes.
or both. That's the best
That's
thing
the
to do because
best.
that's the
It
best
is
way
the
to.
best way.
put,
Because it's an easier conviction.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
will
to
get
keep
answers
any possible
straight
evidence.
away because they're like, okay, well, she actually.
Medically,
If you want to
yeah.
tell it 2 years later down the line, that's up to you. You don't
Yeah.
have to go
But
straight
you have
away.
the evidence.
It's gonna be there. You know what I mean? And we don't get that advice enough because no one sat down and told me what to do when things like that happen, or you know what I mean.
And
So
how do you think that should be taught? Should that be taught in schools, or
that
is
should have
that
been taught from home.
is that taught?
by parents.
By parents. It should have been taught
So
about
are you
from
saying
home.
most of these, or some, whatever you want to categorize, it starts from the home?
100%. We are told
What do you mean by
to.
it starts from the home?
Okay.
As in,
Oh, okay.
it starts from the home in terms of the gender bias we were talking
yes.
about, where
Okay.
you're not used to not having your way, you're not used to someone saying no, you're not used to taking accountability because you always had someone either washing plates or cooking for you or doing something for you that you've never actually
Fair.
be put in a place where you're like, nah, if I do this, I know this is what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay, so basically no education about consequences.
Yes.
Or responsibility essentially.
Yeah, you know what? I think it might be deeper than that because
Yeah.
you can take consequences. You can understand the concept of consequences, right? If there are consequences that apply directly to you, but consequences as it pertains to other people, that's a different.
That's a
level
different, yeah,
entirely. And I think
100%.
it is. I think the best place for that education is home.
Yeah.
Right? Unfortunately, I'm not gonna lie. When it came to sexual anything,
Education.
Especially in our type of
right?
homes.
Yeah.
There's so many of us
Long.
didn't get anything from our parents. It was a taboo subject. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's like, it's
And I
so
think that's what
ridiculous.
fueled it because let's not lie,
100%.
niggas were horny.
Yep.
Like niggas were horny.
Yeah.
A lot of niggas I know watch porn.
Yeah.
And that's their first sexual experience, and then what they imagine that's the scene. That's what they try and recreate. And then when obviously they're not getting their way, they
Yeah.
get a bit aggressive because like,
Yeah.
oh, I
And
saw
it's
that
crazy
shit.
because guys get that and we get told don't wear shorts because an uncle is coming to your house.
I never got
Like,
that.
what? Am I meant to cover myself or he's meant to
Close his
to
eyes.
close his eyes and move? Why are you looking at
never
a
got-
9-year-old?
And then I think that makes it worse for women because
does.
you're conditioned that it's because of what I'm wearing.
Yes, 100%.
Well, I hate to be devil's advocate, but you guys know me.
Please do.
I'm always the guy that's, yes. So, okay, I want to take your example that you just gave,
Yeah.
right? Don't say that to the 9-year-old because you're conditioning the 9-year-old to make it basically feel like it's her fault, right? And I understand that, right? But I do want to ask, do you feel like, well, not a 9-year-old particularly, but women bear any responsibility in terms of keeping themselves safe from these harmful situations? Maybe not harassment per se, but the opportunity to be assaulted or raped. And this is a question that's leading to another question. by the
Okay.
way, so I'd like to hear your opinion on that.
Oh, okay. I feel like there's no way you can avoid if it's gonna happen. Like, there's no, you can
None
be
whatsoever.
anywhere
Anywhere.
in this world and
Mm.
someone can just come out of nowhere and attack you, rape you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you are, daylight,
In the thickest
nights
of
time,
days.
you know, like you can be wearing a whole ass tracksuit, like, or even a burqa or what the Muslim women wear, and it can still happen to you. So I don't think there's anywhere in this world that we can say I feel safe. I could be in the midst of 100 guys, and I might be even at my safest, or I could be at my worst. Like, at that moment,
There's
you
no
never
in-between.
know. Exactly, you just never know because a 9-year-old can, unfortunately, get raped in her own home,
Yeah.
and her mom is downstairs.
Like for as much as I think we want to think that, you know, and we want to say that as especially a nuanced way, that is there any kind of like preventative measures that women can take?
There isn't.
There isn't.
No, the reason why
there's not too many or any, if
I
any.
hear that
Yeah.
still. But the reason why I asked that question is because going back to the case of the 9-year-old, the mother is telling her 9-year-old daughter, don't wear basically provocative clothing because
Yeah.
this weird uncle is coming, or maybe it's just an uncle, but we don't want to provoke a reaction from this one. Using our scenarios, right?
Yeah.
Seeing as we are Africans, right, who have uncles and aunties that were raised in Africa. Let's be real, the situation in Nigeria is
It's
desperate.
worse. Oh,
Now, to be
Lord,
honest, things
don't get me started on
things are
Nigeria,
getting
please.
better
I
because
saw,
they're
just to stop you, I saw they just passed a law that
yes,
Yes,
that's what I
they
was
did.
just about to say. Yeah,
Yeah.
the law. I think it's
if you're convicted
is it
of
9 or is it
Yeah.
11 or something like that. If you sleep with somebody that's younger than the age of 11, you get the death penalty.
Yes.
You know, which is a great law, but
It doesn't.
Will it be
It's not.
effective?
It's not really. No.
This is-
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
guys, wait.
That's what I was gonna say.
Men
It doesn't-
wait.
It doesn't say
Like
12, 13,
some
14,
men, I
15,
won't even
16.
kid you. Some men wait. They will be watching
they
you
keep
like
that.
a
No.
hawk till you're about
It's-
old enough and
this is
you're
not
plump
even
enough,
something
and
Yeah.
then they're ready to prowl. It's
Can't
sad.
afford
It's
these words
so
like
sad,
coke.
but
I
it's
don't like it.
true.
Yeah, it's true.
Like you have to be so careful. I remember from the age of what, like 5, it's been drilled in you. Like, be mindful of when you're walking past the man. Don't walk that way. Do wear this. Don't let your bum do a certain way.
Yeah.
If your bum moves a certain way, you're provoking.
That's a lot
them.
of
Like,
pressure.
So,
it's
like,
so much.
the point I was trying to make was that, do you think that sort of advice or education or chastising is wrong?
It
Do you
is
think it's
wrong. It is wrong because it plays both ways.
Okay.
In the sense that it's wrong because we have to now always be cautious of where we are and where we're going, because we don't know if somebody's going to come and rape me at that time. Or if I'm alone with a guy, I have to keep my distance and behave a
close my
certain
eyes
way.
and be-
Or I have to, if I want to attract a man, I have to play hard to get. That plays into it too. I have to play hard to get to attract a man, because if I fall too easy, he thinks I'm this way, and then it starts
But
sexualizing
that's a
women.
different thing, though.
That's
last part.
yeah. That last part is also a different
so,
thing.
like, I mean, sorry to press you on
No,
this,
you're okay.
right? I mean, do you not think that is, if you say that you can get raped at any time, anywhere, do you not think that is perhaps, some beneficial advice? Because at any moment you could be around a guy who you don't know, who might be
a
a
rapist.
psychopath.
Of course. Of
So
course.
in that sense, do you not think that is beneficial advice to be given?
It could be.
Sorry, the advice being?
The
Being
advice
that-
being that, don't
basically the
do this,
chastising.
don't do that,
Yeah.
don't do this, because you might give the wrong signals. Don't get me wrong, I completely understand. I'm not even trying to
No, I get you. I do. I get
I
you.
completely understand, but there's 2 levels to this.
Of
right?
course.
Level 1 is what women can do to keep themselves safe, and level 2 is how do we educate boys
Yes. Of
and
course.
men.
That's where the
Of
main
course.
issue is.
That is
Yes,
the main issue.
yeah.
But until such a time as all boys and all men are educated,
Mm.
and trust me, that is not a
I
that
know,
is not a
I
short
know. We
journey.
may never get there.
Until such a time as that is happening,
Yes.
like, women
What
have
should
to
we-
be
I
careful.
get that. No, I
Yeah.
actually do get that. But at the same time, as much carefulness as you want to implement, there's no, like, for example, in Ireland, we're not allowed to carry pocket knives. We're not allowed to carry mace or any sort of like pepper spray or anything like that. I researched it. We're not allowed.
No?
No, we can't use any preventive measures.
Wow.
It's illegal. So telling someone in Ireland now, oh, go and carry a pocket knife if you want to be safe so that no one rapes you, and I'm gonna go to jail because somebody wanted to rape me.
She gets picked out.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just as much as we try. Even have you seen that video on Twitter where like someone had a date rape drug, and the way she was dropping it into the drinks, you wouldn't even notice.
Oh, the white woman.
Yeah, the white woman.
That was terrifying.
She was just. I didn't even realize that what's happening. I had to watch it 2-3 times and realize that she's actually drugging the drink. How much prevention do I have to? Can I do over a drink? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's only so much. I can only change my drink so many times. Money's gonna run out at some
In
point.
fact, one day you say,
Do you know?
I'm not
Yeah,
eating.
no.
You know, I'm not gonna eat outside. I'm not gonna drink. Okay, the women who wear protective clothing, you
Yeah.
cover yourself. In the burning heat, in cold weather doesn't even count. In the burning heat, for example, or if I'm on the beach and I'm wearing a bikini, what else am I gonna wear to the beach?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's just only so much that we can do. And why is it that we have to carry the responsibility of making sure that we are safe? We should be safe. Everybody should be safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it sometimes I think that's the issue, is that we feel that, okay, we have to make a preventive. I understand that completely. But at the same time, how much preventive measures can a 9-year-old make?
I absolutely, I hear what you're
I think
saying.
You know?
I
protection
agree
is
with
the more it was protection and education, because at this stage we're talking about 9-year-olds. It's the onus is on the parents who have a parental responsibility to that child to protect that child from pretty much everything. That includes the uncle.
Okay, let's take away 9-year-olds. What about wives in their own home from their own husbands?
Whole different
Like
situation.
that one now. Okay, who was meant to protect her? Her husband, and he was the same person causing harm to her. You know, and there's so many cases where most women, like you said, we're so forgiving. Like we trust people over and over again, and we forgive one person that's messed up. Find the next person that talks to you. You talk for ages. You start talking. You start dating. Let's say you've had sex 1, 2 times, 3 times, and all of a sudden he feels ownership over you. You feel like you can trust this person, but this person in their mind,
It's like, just start.
you're mine. So even if I say no, how can I get out of that space?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, so it's quite difficult to pinpoint an exact protective measurement to it.
I think when I said the protection then is on us, which means that us men, these conversations, one, we need to keep having them, and we need to call each other out.
Oh yeah.
And the third is if you see it, like you physically are there, you can see it. You have to get involved.
That's what
we have to get
that's
involved.
the question I want to ask.
Whether it's we're saying something
You know?
or physically get involved, but
Because
we have to make noise.
Sam said it starts with the education and, of men, of boys growing up. And you said it might take a long time, which I agree. It will take a long time collectively, because I'm not going to lie, the older generation don't have the necessary, even their education to educate us. So we have to educate ourselves to educate those around us and those coming up as well. And what I wanted to ask was, you know, we do say education and accountability. How do, obviously it's not up to men to take accountability for someone else's mistakes,
Of
but
course.
how do we collectively,
Take accountability.
not even so much take accountability, but like help
Oh, okay.
Step up.
exactly, help
Okay.
step up, because yes, we're having the discussion, that's good start, but what else can we do essentially?
Oh, that's a sticky one, because I feel like you men know yourselves.
I like, for example, we say that the youngest coming after us, they hang out in similar communities.
Yeah.
They might go to the same churches.
Yeah.
We know their parents or older brothers or sisters. We're in this place where we need to challenge one another.
Yeah.
To have those discussions like, okay, maybe I might go to my mom and dad. Hang on, how come you guys don't talk to me about anything to do with sex? I had no idea what sexual misconduct was. And now I could have put myself in that position, and then now you're just saying, "Oh, my child,
Yeah,
where did we go
exactly.
wrong?" I'll tell you exactly where you went wrong. So now I've got 2 other brothers coming behind me. It's like they're of age where you have a chance to kind of like
Correct
fix that.
it.
You
Yeah.
can go and talk to them to make sure that they don't become this type of person in the
course.
future. Like for some of us that have reached a specific age, it might be too late to feel like, but it's never too late
Never,
for a
it's
man.
never
Even for the
too
person
late.
himself, yeah, that's what I'm
Never
saying.
too late
You
at
need to educate
all.
yourself, man.
Never too late at all.
Because we know where all these young boys are all around, especially within our own communities.
I think reaching the younger boys is easier to just talk to your peers about this than talk to the younger boys. Now, in the case of brothers, it might be possible because you have that bond.
Yeah.
But if it's like the youth in the church, you remember what you were like when you were young. You did not care.
And
what
the fact
the
is not
elders
even
said.
care, you didn't listen.
You didn't listen.
Yeah.
That's right.
They can talk.
But
and you
see,
gotta listen.
I think
Well,
it's
think
about
about it,
planting the seed.
How many
Yes,
times did you have
it
a
is about
sexual
that.
Yeah,
or
you know?
sexual misconduct?
And some
Not
of
a
them
lot.
do listen.
Not a lot.
And
Maybe
it's
when
the
we
ones that
started.
listen,
Yeah.
you have to tell them, look, if you do you know what it is, right?
Yeah.
When we were in college, you know the way we used to talk, right? We used to talk about anything, anyhow, without thinking twice about it.
Like
Yeah.
we abuse each other's moms and stuff. I don't even care.
That I think it is in that sort of culture. Like a lot of men carry on doing this right until their 50s.
Yeah.
Right? And it's in that culture where nobody's correcting
cycle.
anything that they
It's a
say.
cycle.
It's not just sexual as well. It's also racial as well.
Yes.
That secondary uni phase, if they go unchecked
Oh
throughout
my
that
God,
phase,
yes.
That's exactly
trust
right.
in the adult phase, then
That's
they
exactly
can't check
right.
from then.
You know?
No,
Can't
it's
break
true.
from
And so I feel like that is where the correction needs to begin.
That's the
You know,
period.
there needs to be a process of, checking your friends, saying like, look, okay, you know what? you can't talk about women that way, and it's just because of this. It may not affect you, but it affects them. You understand? And if you look at them like this, and if you talk to them like this, you're gonna feel this way, even if they don't say anything to you. You know, playing the devil's advocate, I feel like women too have a responsibility in educating the men in their lives.
I agree.
Right? Because honest to God, the incident that occurred this year, right, with you, it spread like wildfire.
I know.
Right? I'm sure that wasn't your intention.
It wasn't.
There was a number.
It wasn't.
Yeah, there was a number of other incidents like that before that.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm pretty sure you weren't expecting it to blow up in that same.
Yeah.
Right. In a previous incident, I was actually accused as well. Right. And it hit me in a very interesting way. Right. Because let me just say for the record, I have, and I'll say it like this: I have absolutely no recollection of ever sexually abusing anybody. However, the accusation itself struck a chord with me because for the first time in my life, I was forced to reconsider every sexual encounter that I ever had with you. Right? I'm sure you want to ask about that.
No, like I was actually gonna ask, like in terms of, like we've talked about how serious this issue is and how prevalent and how rampant it is. But then for the small cases where
the false allegations,
where you could use this serious issue, and that's my biggest issue, that this is something so serious that, you know.
Yes. Before we get to the false accusations, what I just wanted to say about what I was saying was that it was after this incident that a lot of my female friends began to talk to me about, you know, their sexual experiences and, you know, what is considered acceptable, what is considered not acceptable, what is considered consent, and what is considered not consent.
And would you say that was the first time in your adult life that you've been enlightened in that matter?
Absolutely. And I didn't know how to take this at the time because I felt like this was the first time I was hearing about this.
Yeah.
It was baffling. So, like I said, I'm not victim blaming. I'm not trying to call out people who are potentially at risk. But if you have male friends, right, talk to them about your experiences. Find a way to bring up the topic. And
I think that would help.
There's nothing more numbing than hearing when your female friends say about experiences. Over the years, I've heard like ranging from rape to sexual assault from women in my life that I know, and it kind of like arrests you in the way that you've never experienced before, like.
Because you're like, that's my friend. I can never, like, if that's how she feels.
And you know what's even worse? Like, some of our mothers have experienced uncountable tragedies that they have never told us, their children.
Yeah.
And there's times where it's accidentally slipped or however information has come out.
It was so crazy when I finally came out about it and I finally told my mom and everything. My godmother from Nigeria called me.
Oh my God.
And she came up to me and I was just sitting there on the phone like, what? She was like, yeah. She was like, I was there looking at her like, I've looked up to you like my entire, we have not had this conversation at all. And it just like, it made it so real to me. I think after she had come out, because this is so much, she's a pastor's wife. She's like looked up to like at such a high level of respect. And you just look at her and you're like, you held this in?
Yeah.
Like, really? She was like, she didn't tell her husband. And I was just like,
what?
Well, she was married at the time?
She was married at the time. She was newly married.
Oh,
and she just couldn't, like, you don't know what you're going to say. How are you going to, like,
and how is he
explain exactly? And the fact that it was someone, and it's so sad, it's always someone close. It was someone close. So obviously the husband would have known, and you can imagine this man is going to go mad. He's going to break this man's head, this. And we become, like, you know?
Like Sam said, like, you guys have unlimited depths to your heart. Like, for you to even keep that from your life partner.
Prosecutes the person.
And send area boys to go and fuck.
Honestly.
Why not, innit? No, I you know what, to be honest, I think it's rougher on the previous generation.
Yes,
than
oh,
this
yeah.
You guys have each other to encourage to speak up.
Yes.
And back then the culture was like,
It was like it
It
was the
mess.
taboo.
It was a
Like, please don't say
mess.
anything.
don't bring shame
This
onto
the
your
devil.
family.
We have to thank God
Like-
for the Me Too movements.
We do.
because-
We really do.
yeah, we absolutely
Because
do.
they brought so much awareness to this, man.
yeah.
Like
And
I
it's not like
think-
people didn't know.
That's
Like-
Everybody
Yeah.
knew.
Everybody knew, but it was hush hush.
Everything was hush.
And I feel like, yeah, females do have a responsibility to talk to their male friends a lot about things like this. Not just to like tell them what it is that's going on, but to also explain our feelings of certain things.
and the
Genuinely,
gravity
that's
of the
the only-
situation doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Like if it's a small thing or it's a
Yeah.
big thing, the small things matter as well.
they
Because
do.
that's how
They
it
do.
starts.
That's how
I
it
feel
starts.
like-
Exactly.
Exactly. Yes.
Because what you allow is what will continue.
Mm.
So the more you allow those little things, the person's gonna feel, she allowed that, she allowed that, she allowed that. So why can't I do that?
in
So
a way, you
Yeah.
can relate it to almost like a serial killer when they get their first kill.
It's true.
basically,
More.
yeah.
Think
it's
about
the start-
it.
Yeah, no, it's true.
It's the first
Very,
taste
very
of
true.
the cake that makes you think,
Mhm.
oh,
Mhm.
This is
heck,
that,
might go
yeah.
all in.
But
It's crazy.
you want to ask? No, 'cause I'm gonna round it up.
I just wanted to say that, like, we're saying that we're trying to advise women to. I don't think we can necessarily advise them, but and the one thing that we would say that we would want from them to just help us is just talk to us.
Yeah.
Have those sessions where
Yeah.
Yeah.
get 4 of us in a room, 4 sensible guys that what I'm not gonna just
Dismiss it.
Dismiss
devil's
it.
advocate to you the whole way through the conversation.
Well,
that
but
they're-
would-
they're-
I mean, I
no,
know some guys
like
are
they're
childish,
gonna
but
listen. They're gonna
guys-
devil's advocate, but so that they can come to a conclusive kind of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
conclusion
Yeah,
at the end
And
of
if
it.
you have brothers, talk to them as well. Because
Yeah.
I know I talk to my brother like once a week, and I'll just text him and be like, "I hope you're keeping safe." Da 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 da, and then I'll dive into the deep part.
Mhm.
We've had the sex talk. I think I'm the only person he's even ever come out to that about, and we've had the sexual assault talk and everything, and I've said it, and we've been like, you have to remember, and I'll keep
Yeah.
drilling it into you, even if you don't want to hear it from me, but it's gonna stick eventually, and it'll be helpful. Because I don't know what you're doing outside.
And that's
So,
that's the problem.
you
like,
know?
when it's down to the two people, that's why you don't know what has happened because it's
Exactly.
literally between you
And
that
that
person.
person.
Yeah, and
So-
it's not your job. It's technically not your job to educate your brother, but you're saving your brother and you're
It
saving
helps.
some unsuspecting victim.
Exactly.
Mhm.
You know,
Exactly.
that may or
Because
may not.
I've told him, if anybody comes to come and report you, I'll take you to the police myself.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
100% take you to the police myself.
So to kind of round up this discussion, because I've actually really enjoyed it, but I really want our listeners or whatever to take something from. We're talking about breaking the cycle, and we've seen how that has affected the whole issue, and in our community, how this herd mentality of like keep it hush and don't say anything type, and we're seeing the effect that has had eventually, because now the trust in the men is at an all-time low.
Yeah.
So, in terms of breaking that cycle, what would be your advice apart from, education and helping out? But like, how do we actually, in your opinion, try to break the cycle of repetitive sexual misconduct?
I feel like aside from education, isn't it? I would definitely say I think it's keeping the conversation going. That's definitely one of the main ones, because the more we talk about it, the more people become comfortable talking about it, and then everything comes out in the open. And I would definitely say I wouldn't say disowning the friends that do certain things, but I would definitely say let the person feel that they've done something wrong.
Let them feel
Like
your
if
own.
you know that's what, like, you're trying to correct someone, that doesn't mean you tell them off and then you're back best buds the next
Yeah.
day, because then they feel like it's
something,
past,
yeah.
like my
I'll
boy
probably
has
get away with
corrected
this
me, so
again,
it's fine.
yeah.
No, it's like I'm pulling you up on it, like I'm actually pulling you up on it, and I don't know if I can talk to you for a while,
But
so that you can deep your actions.
can we to round up? But I want to hone in on
Yeah.
a specific element of this. Right? I agree with everything you said so far, by the way. But how do you differentiate when an accusation is legitimate and when it's not?
That's a good question.
Like I said, I don't mean to make this personal, but it did happen to me.
Yeah, no, I
And
get that.
it rocked my world.
I'd say so.
For maybe a good year.
Jeez.
This was the thing I
thought about
thought about every day. And to be honest, all things considered, I don't regret it. I think the Me Too movement was a great thing. It was necessary. And I think the accusation that happened to me educated me in a way that got me up to speed. All the things I should have known. All the
Yeah.
things I should have been taught to me. 1 year
Crash course.
Yeah, you get me?
No, yeah.
But at the same time, I have been through a series of, like, let's say, psychologically testing situations in my life. So it has made me develop ways of dealing with this. I know other people that were accused. I can't vouch for them whether or not
Of course,
they do that.
yeah,
I won't.
of course.
But I do know the toll that it takes on a person, because rape, in my opinion, is probably one of the worst things you can do to another person.
Yes.
It's up there with murder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think
You
murder
kill
might
them
even
and
be
let them live
slightly
in their
below.
body, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Say that again?
You
Pretty
kill
much.
them and like you kill them and let them stay in their body.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
You know what I mean? You've yeah, exactly. You know, so that's not a small thing to level at people. And
Yeah.
there are some people out here, I don't know how many, that are leveling these accusations at people that they have grudges against. And it's difficult. I'm not going to ask you how do you discern between the two, but how do we talk to people that have been accused?
Oh, okay.
Can I say one thing
Okay.
before
Without-
Gabby just
Yeah,
go
go ahead.
to just in terms of the varying degrees of from rape to like sexual harassment? I don't know if there's much as us men need education and understanding that.
Women also need education.
Yeah, I was going to say
100%.
because it seems to have contributed
Yeah.
to a lot of some of the accusations. being-
Yeah. Yeah.
Parts of it may have been true, but to a way lesser degree.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like it's very
That's the
difficult
thing.
to.
I think it's because some women don't know the difference
Yeah.
between the three of what harassment and assault and rape is. They just see it all as one umbrella term as rape, which is not the case. They're actually three different ranges of things. They're one is much more broader than the other. One is a closed and shut case that this is what it is. And some women do, I think everybody, not just men, women need education as well in it, because when you're now making an accusation, you're saying, oh, this person raped me, but they didn't. They just maybe have touched you in a way
And
that
that's
you
not good
didn't.
either.
And that's
that
not
can be
great
dealt
either,
with
but
in a different way.
it's a whole different case on its
Yeah.
own, you know what I mean? So I definitely agree that women do need to educate themselves. A lot of women do, and that's what I'm trying to do as well, is to not just educate men, is to educate women as well, because we can't just be going out and, because when you accuse someone and then it's a false allegation, you're making the people who actually went through and want to come out not want to anymore, because then everybody's
That's
now
it.
battling that, oh, this person's right, this
Yeah.
person's wrong, and you don't want to go through that. You just came out about your story. You don't want to have to argue with anybody that you were wrong or you're lying and something like that. But to follow what you had asked, what was it exactly?
Oh Christ, what did I say? I said
Differentiate between false accusations and genuine accusations.
no, not
No.
even, not even differentiating. I said, what's the
How do
best
you
way
talk
to
to
deal
an
with somebody
accused?
that has been accused? Like, is there a mechanism where we can
And to kind of piggy off that question,
shine a brighter
is
light
there
on
a
the situation?
reintegration into society type that is possible for anyone that, let's say, was accused and got convicted, but are they totally banished from society? Or is there
Okay, I know this is a serious conversation, but don't you ever hop on my question again, understand? Alright? No, I want me to my
Does
question.
the remorsefulness
You
and the
get your question
accountability
out.
of the individual that's been accused play a part into how they can be then received again back
I
by
think
people?
so. I think it definitely does. I think it plays a huge part into it, because taking accountability is a huge thing to
It's
do.
rarely done, isn't
Like,
it?
it's very rare for someone to come out and be like, yo, I
I
did it, you know what I mean? But I think the way there's no way to phrase it, but I think the worst thing you can do is then accuse the person that accused you.
It's the fire fingers
They're
back.
lying.
I'm lying.
When you do that,
Yeah.
you did it. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
In society,
Okay.
you did it. When you start firing back, like, I have to defend myself. But if you didn't do, you don't have anything to defend because you didn't do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
but
mean?
some people are
Of
still
course,
gonna
people
take
are
it
still
back.
gonna take it, yeah. But the sad thing about society is, what my friends always say is, social media is not real.
It's not, it's true.
The funny thing about society is, no matter what bad thing you do on this earth, people will move on.
Yeah.
Always have those
They
people.
will always move on. The girl that was talking about, what was that girl? That was saying every Somali person should be raped or whatever. That
Whoa,
What?
this girl,
Slumflower.
no, not Slumflower. This Twitter girl, she came. They brought back her old tweets when they were bringing back Nella Roses. They brought back some of her old tweets, and she was saying a lot of really rude things about rape and stuff. She's booming on YouTube.
So-
Like,
We only have a week's span
it's
for
so,
internet-
you know,
internet
everyone
things.
has their
Yeah.
moments, and you have to let people, sometimes you just have to let people get it out of their
Mhm.
system. And once they've gotten it out, guess what? They've moved on to the next thing that they want to flare up about. But it's when you have to keep defending and you're fighting a stupid battle. I'm so sorry. You're just fighting an unending battle. Society cannot shut you out, not bring you back in. They don't own you. You are in control.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, you are in
Justice society
control
don't own
of what is going on in your society. So if people keep attacking you and saying, well, listen, I've told you I didn't do it. If you choose to accept that, that's on you.
Exactly.
I think that's.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
there's
the point.
no other way, because if you start telling story, I was with her. We were walking down the street. We decided to go up to my house. Already, it's like, well, you welcomed that in. You knew what you were doing. You were
Straight-
planning.
straight away,
People
they're
will
putting
pick
holes into the
exactly. People
story.
will always
Yeah.
pick something. So there's no need to fight that battle. Let people speak if they want to speak, and I've chosen to do that myself. Let people say what they want to say about you, because eventually they'll move on to the next person they want to attack. Because if you give them that energy, they will feed off of it, and they'll keep going. You did it, yeah. You. There was a guy that came out, if you remember, from London. He was accused. He didn't say a thing.
And he went.
And
Yeah,
then
he did
he
the
went
receipts.
and did all the
Yeah,
shit he needed to do
yeah.
to clear his
And
name
then he now
behind closed
came
doors,
back.
and then he came back.
Yeah.
That to me
That
was
was effective.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I said that was beautiful because he didn't say a word when it happened, and he let people say what they want to say. Then when he was ready, he came back and he cleared his name. I thought that was amazing because he didn't fire shots. He didn't accuse the girl.
It
He
would
said
have been the
maybe.
worst thing to do.
would-
Poor Carol's
exactly.
seen
And it's just in flames. Yo. What do you want to ask? No, I mean,
That's it. That's got the question. I'll take us extra 10 minutes.
I was just gonna say, like, you know, that's a well-said thing, but some of these accusations are anonymous,
Of
so
course.
it's not possible for all
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah.
I think you did strike on a very important point. If there's nothing that you're feeling guilty about, there's nothing you should be feeling like
Yeah.
you need to apologize over and over
Be
and over
defensive.
again. There's nothing you should be defensive about. Thank
Yeah.
you. So I think that's a very important point.
Yeah.
It's a tough situation.
It is. It's
I
a
think.
very, very tough situation
Like
to
you said.
be in, and I would really encourage people not to lie or like make up stories to suit themselves or to appease whatever grudge they have against someone, because these accusations are very serious, and like people are living through the trauma of these things. Like, you can be walking around and be happy in front of you, and then I'm going home to go and cry till the next day. Like, so you have to be very careful of how you address these things. It's a very sensitive issue.
I think the conversation needs to keep going.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of
100%,
work left.
100%.
Listen, thank you very, very
Oh,
much
thank you,
for
guys.
further pushing the conversation and educating us more. Like, I've always kind of followed you on social media so I can see.
Little fanboy.
Yeah, I know. I am Miss Nigeria 2018. But like, no, I've always just admired how you like go on the different platforms and you keep speaking about these issues, and it's really good that you're able to further the conversation. Do you have anything you're working on at the moment you want to shed more light on?
We do have something with the IBO, the Irish Business Owned.
Okay.
There's going to be like a women's. They've gotten therapists for
That's
women,
cool.
which is amazing. With like about over 30 sessions for women.
good.
I thought that was fantastic. So we're trying to get the therapist to come in, and we're gonna have a day for the ladies. But I definitely want to do the consent tour with like going to unis. But
That would be
Corona,
good,
I'm not sure right now.
Virtual
That's
maybe?
on hold.
2021
Virtually is
will
there
go.
too. I wanted to do it through the AfroSoc, because I feel like a lot of people do actually like go to
Yes, yes,
AfroSoc.
yes.
So, and then new first years coming in and stuff like that, because a lot of stuff happened in uni.
Oh yeah.
That you
let's not even
know,
get
hands
into
down. I think that's one of the worst
Let's-
times.
If we open up the uni file,
Our Instagram is at mskeeper_, and our Facebook is there, My Sister's Keeper, and our Twitter is there as well.
Super.
Yeah, thank
Perfect.
you guys.
Listen, thank you for coming on. We are the
No,
Man
thank you guys
Podcast.
so
You can
much.
follow us on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and
Yeah, man.
Instagram, and also on Twitter.
it's lit.
Did I get it?
Yes.
I think so.
No, this is the first time I actually
Yeah,
got
I
it
know,
all
I
right.
know, I know. You wrapped this up so nicely. I don't know. You let him talk for too long.
Yeah, I know.
Don't say too much
Fuck
about that.
intellectual juggernaut.
I mean,
Anyways, we're the
hopefully you said I should
OhMan
ask
Podcast.
questions.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.